Have you ever really stopped to think about pricing? You know, the hidden language behind a price tag that can make one business a wild success and another a total failure? It's a puzzle, and it's one every single entrepreneur has to solve. I mean, seriously, you see one store run a simple 10% off sale and suddenly they're flooded with customers, revenue is through the roof. Then another store tries the exact same thing and it's a ghost town. They barely see a bump, and now they're losing money on every sale. What's going on here? Well, it's not magic, I promise. It's a core economic idea we're going to break down right now.
So, to get our heads around this, let's meet Leo. He's a sharp, ambitious student, and he's just started his own online business selling these really cool custom laptop stickers. Things are okay, but Leo, he wants to make it big.
And that leads him to his first huge roadblock. He knows pricing is the key, but he is completely terrified to touch it. I mean, what if he raises the price and all his customers just disappear? Or what if he lowers it and ends up losing money? It's a classic catch-22 for any new business owner. So he musters up the courage and he takes the plunge. He bumps up the price on his #1 best-selling sticker. It's a pretty generic design, but lots of people like it. And the result? Oof, it's a total disaster. His sales fall off a cliff, and he actually makes less money than before. He is just completely baffled.
Leo's racking his brain, thinking back to his economics class. He remembers the law of demand, right? Price goes up, the quantity people demand goes down. Simple. But what he's realizing now is that this rule, well, it doesn't tell you the whole story. The really crucial part is it doesn't tell you by how much. Is demand going to dip just a little, or is it going to totally collapse? That is the million-dollar question.
And to solve this puzzle, Leo needs to understand what we're going to call the stretchiness of demand. Yep, stretchiness. This is the secret ingredient he was missing. It's not just about if demand changes, it's about how sensitive, how responsive it is when you mess with the price.
Now, this idea of stretchiness has a fancier, more official name: Price Elasticity of Demand. All it is a way to measure exactly how much the quantity people want to buy changes when the price tag changes. This is the tool that turns pricing from a wild guess into an actual science.
And this side right here gives you the perfect way to picture it. Think of some products as having demand like a super stretchy rubber band. You give the price a little pull and whoosh, demand stretches a whole lot. But for other products, demand is more like a rigid iron bar. You can push and pull on the price all you want, but demand barely budges. That difference, that is everything.
So let's talk about something that's elastic. Pepsi is a perfect example. If the price of a can of Pepsi goes up, even by a little bit, what do? Well, you probably just grab a Coke or a Sprite or something else, right? Because there are so many other options, so many substitutes. Demand is super responsive, it's very stretchy.
Now let's flip that. Think about an inelastic good, like critical heart medication. If the price for that medicine doubles, well, people still have to buy it. There aren't any good substitutes when your life is on the line. Demand just doesn't really react to the price change. It's rigid, it's inelastic. Getting this difference is the key.
Okay, so we've got our two big categories, stretchy and non-so-stretchy. But you know economists, they love to get specific. So they've actually broken this down into 5 different levels, or degrees of elasticity. It's a spectrum, from totally rigid to infinitely stretchy. Let's do a quick run-through.
First up, we have perfectly inelastic. This is our iron bar. The graph is just a straight vertical line. Why? Because the quantity demanded doesn't change one bit, no matter how high the price skyrockets. That life-saving drug is the classic example here. Next, just inelastic. Now look at this graph. It's a really steep slope. That's because a big change in price only leads to a tiny little change in the quantity demanded. Think about something like gasoline. If the price jumps 20%, you might grumble and maybe cancel a weekend trip, but you probably still have to drive to work. Your demand doesn't change all that much.
Slap bang in the middle, we have unitary elastic. This is where everything is perfectly balanced. A 10% drop in the price leads to an exactly 10% increase in the quantity demanded. The changes are perfectly proportional. It's the sweet spot. All right, now we're back in the stretchy zone with elastic demand. The graph here has a much flatter, gentler slope. This is where a small tweak in the price causes a huge, outsized change in demand. You know, if your favorite brand of chocolate goes on sale for 10% off, its sales might shoot up by 30% because everyone switches over from the other brands. And finally, we've got the most extreme case, perfectly elastic. The graph is a totally flat horizontal line. To picture this, think of a huge farmer's market where every stall is selling the exact same type of apple. If one farmer tries to charge just 1 penny more than everyone else, what happens? Their sales drop to zero instantly, because everyone will just go to the next stall. At that one market price, demand is basically infinite, but anything above it, it's zero. So, how in the world are you supposed to remember all 5 of these for a test? Okay, check this out. This diagram is the ultimate memory hack. It puts all 5 curves together. Just remember this. The letter I in inelastic is tall and straight, just like the perfectly inelastic vertical line. And the letter E in elastic has those 3 horizontal bars, just like the perfectly elastic horizontal line. Everything else just fits in between. This is your cheat code. Seriously, use it. Okay, this theory is all well and good, but let's get back to Leo. How does any of this actually help him fix his sticker business? Well, this is where it all clicks into place. Because elasticity is the direct link between a pricing choice and how much money you actually make. So, remember Leo's generic sticker? The one that had tons of competition? That, my friends, is an elastic good. And here is a totally wild, counterintuitive secret for elastic goods. To make more money, Leo actually needs to charge less. Yeah, you heard that right. Dropping the price just a bit will bring in such a huge wave of new customers that the volume totally makes up for the lower price on each sticker. Lower price leads to higher revenue. That's elasticity at work. Okay, but what about an inelastic good? Let's say Leo designs a super unique, one-of-a-kind sticker for his university's sports team, something you literally cannot get anywhere else. Now, demand is inelastic. In this case, he can actually raise the price. Sure, he might lose a few customers, but not that many. And the much higher price he gets from everyone who stays means his total revenue goes up. That is the secret to smart pricing. So that leads to the big question, right? What actually makes a product's demand stretchy or not? Why is a can of Pepsi elastic, but gasoline inelastic? Well, it boils down to a few key factors. All right, so what are the big drivers here? First and foremost, it's all about substitutes. The more choices people have, the more elastic the demand will be. It's that simple. Second, think about luxuries versus necessities. You're way more likely to cut back on fancy restaurant meals than you are on, say, bread. Luxuries are elastic, necessities are inelastic. Third, think about how big a chunk of your budget it is. You're going to be way more sensitive to the price of a new car than the price of a pack of gum. And finally, time. The more time you have to find an alternative, the more elastic your demand becomes over time. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some abstract theory for Leo's sticker shop. Elasticity explains massive, real-world phenomena. Everything from how governments set taxes to why black markets exist. It's like a new lens for seeing how the world works. Take something like cigarette taxes. Governments know that because of addiction, the demand for cigarettes is super inelastic. So they can slap a massive tax on them to raise a ton of money, knowing that most people will just pay up and keep buying. But there's an unintended consequence. When the price gets really high in one place, it creates this huge incentive for people to smuggle in cheaper cigarettes from somewhere else, creating a giant black market. Elasticity explains that whole situation perfectly. So there you have it. You now have one of the secret weapons of economics. So the next time you see a price tag, don't just see a number. Ask yourself, why do airlines charge a fortune for a last-minute flight? Why does popcorn at the movies cost so much? Why do coffee shops give you that buy 9, get the 10th free card? Think about the strategy behind it and ask yourself the big question. Is the demand for this elastic or inelastic?